Chad Henderson spilled his coffee all over the director's bespoke suit, yet he was the one looking at me with red, teary eyes. Zach, I know you're jealous that I won Employee of the Month, but you didn't have to shove me. The entire office went dead silent. Victoria Sterling looked at me coldly. Zach Miller, go to finance and settle your final paycheck. Just as I was about to defend myself, Chad's smug inner voice rang in my ears. LMAO. This is perfect. Not only do I not have to pay for the suit, but I also get to kick out my only competitor. I'm a freaking genius. Cry a little louder, squeeze out 2 more tears. Victoria totally falls for this sensitive guy act. Looking at Chad's harmless, innocent face, I had an epiphany. Since I couldn't explain my way out of this, I wasn't going to try. In front of everyone, I dropped to my knees with a loud thud, wrapped my arms around Chad's legs, and wailed louder than a banshee. Bro, Chad, I'm sorry. I'm a sinner. I was possessed by jealousy. I'll bow down to you. Wham, wham, wham. If you want to act, then I'm going to smash the whole stage. I slammed my head against the floor with genuine force. The cold tiles vibrated with a dull thudding sound, each impact echoing through the silent office. My forehead instantly turned red and stung like fire. My colleagues were dumbfounded, jaws dropped like ducks being choked. Even the icy female boss, Victoria, was stunned by my sudden descent into madness, momentarily forgetting to fire me as she frowned with a complex expression. Chad was completely bewildered. I was hugging his thighs like a vice, wiping my snot and tears all over his trousers. Is this idiot crazy? He's actually banging his head? He's wiping saliva on my pants. Damn it, these are brand new. But he didn't dare move. His persona was the kind, innocent white knight. How could he kick away a brother who was begging for forgiveness on his knees? He could only bend down stiffly, trying to pull me up, forcing a troubled, yet forgiving smile onto his face. Zach, bro, don't be like this. Get up, I don't blame you. I cried even louder. No, Chad, you have to blame me. If you don't blame me, you're looking down on me. I'm not human. I'm jealous of your talent. I'm jealous of your kindness. I'm not even fit to shine your shoes. The entire company was probably cringing hard enough to dig a basement with their toes. This farce ended with Victoria's face darkening as she dropped a mop the floor first and turned back in her office. I kept my job for now, but my situation was worse. During lunch break, the pantry was buzzing with whispers. Zach Miller is terrifying. Such intense jealousy. Yeah, the apology was brutal, but his character is trash. Look how nice Chad is. Still gonna comfort him. I sat at my cubicle when Chad walked over with his lunchbox, wearing a saint-like smile. He placed the container on my desk. Zach, you haven't eaten yet, right? I'm not hungry. You have it. The lunchbox contained a meal that had barely been touched and looked quite lavish. Just hocked a massive loogie in there. God, even I'm grossed out. Eat up, loser. Watch me play you to death. My stomach churned violently. I almost vomited on the spot. I looked up at his innocent face. Colleagues around us cast approving glances. Chad really repays evil with kindness. Zach should learn a thing or two. I picked up the lunchbox and gave him a tearfully grateful smile. Thanks, bro, Chad. Then, right in front of his face, I dumped the entire contents of the lunchbox into the trash can. Chad's smile froze. What the FCK? Ungrateful trash. I said with a face full of guilt, Bro, Chad, how could a sinner like me deserve such good food? I need to starve, so I remember my mistakes. That afternoon, Chad volunteered to share my workload to ease my psychological burden. He took the client data report I was halfway through. I'll just move the decimal point 2 places to the left and change a few key figures. That should be enough to ruin him. 5 minutes before quitting time, he sent the report back to me and told me to submit it. The moment the email went out, Victoria's internal line rang, her voice cold as ice. Zach Miller, get your ass into my office immediately. The moment I walked in, a printed report hit me in the face. Are you a moron? How could you produce data like this? If the company loses millions because of you, can you afford to pay for it? You're useless. Chad followed me in, his eyes reddening at just the right moment. Victoria, please don't blame Zach. It's all my fault. I didn't teach him well. I'm willing to be punished in his place. Yes, yell at him. Destroy him. I want to see him trampled underfoot. Victoria looked at Chad, then at me, the disgust in her eyes deepening. You take his place? How? Chad, go back and rest. This doesn't concern you. Then she pointed at my nose. You, pull an all-nighter tonight and re-verify every single figure. You're not leaving until it's done. I stood there like a fool. Chad walked past me and whispered in a voice only I could hear, Good luck, Zach. Then, right in front of Victoria, I had to squeeze out a smile uglier than crying for this bastard who framed me. Thank you, Chad. The empty office echoed with the sound of typing. At 3 a.m., I checked my burner account on social media and saw a post Chad made half an hour ago. A photo of him at a club surrounded by hot girls. The caption read, "Feel a bit bad for bro Zach, but mistakes must be owned. Hope he learns his lesson and grows up soon." Below was a row of likes and comments from colleagues. Chad is too kind. Don't worry about him. He deserves it. This post blocked me specifically. I stared at the screen, my chest feeling like it was crushed by a boulder, unable to breathe. Dragging my exhausted body back to the apartment I shared with Chad, it was already 7:00 a.m. the next day. In the entryway, a pair of shoes woke me up instantly. They were the limited edition Jordans I had scrimped and saved 3 months to buy. Now they were covered in mud splatter, and there was even a disgusting gum stain on the side. Chad yawned as he came out of his room, looking innocent when he saw me. "Oh, Zach, you're back. It was raining last night, and I was in a rush, so I wore your shoes. I figured leaving them on the shelf was a waste, so I broke them in for you. No need to thank me. What crappy shoes. Stiff and they chafe. He actually treasures these? Glad I got them dirty. Let the poor loser scrub them himself." My fists cracked as I clenched them. I hadn't worn those shoes once, and he wore them to stomp in mud puddles. I took a deep breath, suppressing my rage. It's okay. Shoes are meant to be worn. If you like them, Chad, wear them whenever. I couldn't blow up at him here. It would only confirm my reputation as petty. Chad smiled smugly and went back to his room to sleep. I silently picked up the brush and cleaner, squatting in the bathroom, scrubbing away the mud bit by bit. The ice-cold water numbed my hands, but couldn't extinguish the fire in my heart. That weekend, the department organized a camping and barbecue trip. This was a good opportunity. Victoria would be there, and I heard she was a foodie. I spent all night marinating a large box of premium pork belly and steak using a secret family recipe. I wanted to show off my cooking skills to Victoria and turn around her impression of me. Arriving at the campsite, just as I lifted the cooler full of meat from the trunk, Chad enthusiastically rushed over. "Zach, let me help you. It's so heavy." He reached out to take it. Before I could warn him to be careful, his hand slipped and the cooler's latch accidentally popped open. Crash! Half the meat spilled onto the ground, covered in dirt and grass clippings. Chad immediately let out an exaggerated gasp. "Oh my God, Zach, why are you so careless? That was everyone's lunch for today." Everyone's eyes instantly focused on me. Blame, disappointment, disdain. I stood there, unable to defend myself. Plan successful. Now he can go wash the meat like a dog while I take all the credit. I silently crouched down, picked up the salvageable slices one by one, and took them to the stream to wash. Chad took the remaining half of the clean meat and stood triumphantly in front of the grill. He skillfully flipped the meat, sprinkling cumin and chili powder, the aroma quickly spreading. He respectfully offered the first skewer to Victoria. "Victoria, try this." She took a bite, her eyes lighting up. "Tastes good. Chad, I didn't know you had skills like this." Chad smiled shyly, scratching his head, but his eyes darted toward me by the stream. Actually, Zach taught me. Even though he's usually a bit careless, his heart is in the right place. He was ostensibly speaking up for me, while secretly stomping me into the mud. Good thing I secretly learned a few tricks. Taking credit for someone else's work feels amazing. That loser Zach can wash dishes like a dog over there, huh? Listening to his inner voice, the meat in my hand was squeezed out of shape. By the time I finally washed the meat and brought it back, the barbecue was winding down. Everyone was full and playing games. Truth or dare? The bottle spun to me. Chad grinned and asked a question, seemingly unintentional but actually venomous. "Zach, I choose truth for you. I heard you came out of the office bathroom last time without washing your hands." Instantly, the whole place went quiet. Everyone's gaze landed on me, especially Victoria's. Her eyes were filled with undisguised disgust. My face flushed crimson. That day the faucet was broken, and I had gone back to my desk to get wet wipes, but he had seen me leave the restroom. The faucet was broken that day. My explanation was pale and weak. No one believed it. A female colleague theatrically covered her nose and scooted away. LMAO, men with bad hygiene are the grossest. Victoria definitely thinks so, too. Zach is totally finished in her eyes now. I watched Victoria's cold, distant expression, and my heart sank little by little. Monday morning meeting, the atmosphere was serious. The last item on the agenda was announcing the quarterly performance bonuses. My heart rose in my throat. I had worked myself to the bone last quarter to close a massive deal. My numbers were miles ahead of the rest of the department. This bonus was the money for my mom's next round of medical treatments. Just as Victoria was about to speak, Chad suddenly went pale. Beads of cold sweat appeared on his forehead, and he clutched his stomach with one hand, his body swaying. Yet he bravely stood up, his voice weak but determined. Victoria. Everyone, although I just got out of the hospital for a stomach bleed last week. This multi-million-dollar deal was the result of Zach and me working. Cough, cough. Working together. Before he could finish, he looked like he couldn't hold on any longer, clutching the table and coughing violently. That deal was mine from start to finish. He had merely handed the file to the client when we signed the contract. Now, it had become a credit to his working while sick. Drank half a pint of vodka mixed with red ink last night. Wasn't for nothing. Damn, my stomach is still burning. But for a $5,000 bonus, it's worth it. Look at that loser Zach's face. It's priceless. Victoria immediately stood up and walked quickly to Chad's side, showing rare concern. Chad, your health comes first. Why are you pushing yourself so hard? She turned back, her sharp gaze sweeping over me. This quarterly bonus goes entirely to Chad, and doubled, as a reward for his dedication while ill. Zach Miller, although your performance data is first, remember, this is a team. You lack the most basic spirit of teamwork and sacrifice. Your bonus is docked by half. My brain buzzed. Double for him, dock for me. All in all, I lost $7,500. My mom's life-saving money. I watched Chad being surrounded by colleagues, accepting everyone's concern and praise, while I stood there like an outsider, a shameful thief. After work, Chad generously proposed treating the whole company to a night out at a high-end karaoke club. He was using the bonus he just received. Everyone cheered, crowding around their hero as they left. No one spared me a glance. Inside the private VIP room, Chad was the absolute star. He ordered the most expensive liquor, the biggest fruit platters, basking in everyone's flattery. Partying until midnight, it was time to pay the bill. The server came in with a $3,000 tab, and everyone looked at Chad. Chad patted his pockets, wearing a face that said, "Oh no." He took out his phone, tapped it for a while. The screen remained pitch black. "Oh man, my phone died. The bonus just hit today. I haven't had time to transfer it out yet." He turned to look at me, his smile still so sincere. "Zach, can you cover it for now? I'll transfer it to you as soon as I get back." I only had $3,500 left to my name. That was my rent and food money for next month. Under everyone's gaze, I couldn't refuse. I took out my phone and scanned the QR code. Beep. My heart sank to rock bottom along with the transaction sound. Back at the apartment, I asked him for the money. He was lying on the sofa, playing on his phone. He didn't even lift his eyelids when I walked in. "Bro, Chad, about that $3,000. What's the rush?" He finally spoke, his tone full of impatience. "You think I'm going to stiff you? Poor people are always poor people. Asking for $3,000 so desperately. He deserves to be broke forever." The next day, I asked again. He threw his phone at me to look. "Can't transfer. Hit my daily limit." On the third day, I discovered he had blocked me on WeChat, but I could still see his moments. Suppressing my rage, I had mentioned him in a massive company group chat with over 300 people. "At Chad Henderson, when will it be convenient to transfer me the money from that night?" The group blew up instantly. Before Chad could reply, others jumped out. "Zach, you're so cheap. It's only $3,000, and you're chasing debt in the main group?" Exactly. Bro, Chad was so sick and still treated everyone. And here you are acting like a debt collector. Why is the gap between people so large? A few minutes later, Chad posted a status on his moments. No names named, but everyone knew who it was about. "Sometimes I feel so tired. I thought we were brothers. But in the face of money, everything is so fragile. Talking about money really hurts feelings." A pile of people commented to comfort him. I stared at the screen, shaking with anger. He used my money to treat guests, bought everyone's goodwill, and in the end, I became the petty, cold-blooded villain. I was completely isolated. It wasn't the last straw that broke the camel's back, but the weight of every straw before it. The company was recently chasing an extremely important overseas client. If we landed this project, it could feed the company for half a year. Victoria probably wanted to give me one last chance, assigned both Chad and me to handle the client reception. This decision sent me straight to my doom. In the project prep meeting, I heard the most vicious plan in Chad's mind. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. All I have to do is anonymously email our confidential price list to our competitor, Horizon Group, then change the IP address in the server logs to Zach's. As soon as Horizon gets that quote, this project is dead in the water. When the company investigates, the charge of leaking trade secrets will be enough to send Zach to prison for a few years. Once he's gone, the deputy director position is mine. My back was instantly soaked in cold sweat. This wasn't just office politics or being two-faced. This was a crime. He was trying to kill me. I watched him sit opposite me, discussing reception details with everyone earnestly. Under that spring breeze smile lay the most hideous malice. Fear, like an icy hand, gripped my heart tight. During the meeting, he was still digging pits for me. By the way, Zach, I found out that the client representative, Mr. Smith, is particularly interested in Chinese liquor culture, especially strong spirits. We have to treat him well tonight. Actually, Smith is allergic to alcohol and doesn't touch a drop. As long as Zach dares to pressure him to drink, the deal is dead on the spot, and the responsibility will be his. I kept my head down, pretending to take notes seriously, my fingernails digging into my palms. The banquet was held at the city's top hotel. Before it started, Chad and I were at the banquet hall in trance, making final preparations. He walked over, affectionately straightening my tie, his movements gentle. Zach, this project depends entirely on you. Don't screw it up, okay? His voice was light, carrying encouraging warmth. But his inner voice was like a poison-tipped dagger. Zach, goodbye forever. Enjoy your last moments of freedom. I wonder if prison food suits your taste. I looked up, watching him turn and walk toward Victoria, his back confident and spirited. In that moment, all the anger, frustration, and fear morphed into a decisive madness. Since you have no honor, don't blame me for having no morals. You want me dead? Then I'll drag you into the crematorium with me. The banquet hall doors slowly opened. Mr. Smith and his team, accompanied by Victoria, were walking in, chatting and laughing. Chad picked up a glass of red wine, wearing his perfect social smile, preparing to step forward and display his elegant, gentlemanly demeanor. It's now or never. I took a deep breath, used every ounce of strength in my body, and let out a gut-wrenching scream. Bro, Chad, look out. An assassin. Under everyone's horrified gaze, I charged like a mad bull, sprinting from 10 meters away. Target, Chad. Bang. A massive impact sound. Chad crumpled like a puppet with cut strings as I tackled him viciously. The champagne tower behind him crashed down, countless glasses shattering, golden liquid and glass shards flying everywhere. The two of us fell into a wretched heap. Red wine poured down from above, soaking his snow-white shirt. I pinned him down firmly, and into his terrified ear I whispered word by word, audible only to the two of us. The game starts now. The entire banquet hall was dead silent. Everyone was scared witless by this sudden scene, including the VIP client, Mr. Smith. Victoria let out a short scream, her face pale. Lying amidst glass shards and wine, Chad grimaced in pain, already cursing in his heart. Zach, are you f***ing sick? My back. Where's the assassin? You're the assassin. I didn't give him any chance to speak. I scrambled up from him, my movements exaggerated, my expression terrified. When I tackled him, I had swiped my hand across his face, causing a nosebleed, and I quickly smeared the blood all over my own face. Now, covered in blood, I looked incredibly tragic. Mosquito. There was a huge mosquito. I pointed at the ceiling, screaming hoarsely. Bro, Chad is allergic to bug spray. I saw him go into shock once just from a mosquito bite. I was saving his life. The excuse was absurdly ridiculous, but combined with my face full of blood and my earnest eyes, it strangely generated a bizarre persuasiveness. Chad's arm had been cut by glass shards, and he was just about to cry out in pain and accuse me of assault. I lunged back, kneeling beside him, cupping his face, and wailing with earth-shattering volume. Bro, Chad, how are you? You can't die on me. I didn't give him a chance to speak at all. I leaned in and passed breath directly into his mouth. Under the guise of CPR, I unceremoniously spat a day's worth of accumulated saliva all over his face. Ugh, get off. Did you eat garlic? Don't touch me. Chad's internal voice roared, but his body was immobilized by pain and shock. While performing first aid, I didn't forget to cry out to the surrounding crowd. I haven't spent all my bonus on you yet. You haven't paid me back the money you promised for the karaoke night. Bro, Chad, wake up. At these words, the expressions of several colleagues turned subtle. Mr. Smith and his team looked at each other, and finally, the blue-eyed client actually led a round of applause. He spoke to Victoria through his translator. Ms. Sterling, your employee is admirable. Such brotherhood, risking oneself to save a colleague, is rare in our country. I'm very moved. Victoria's expression shifted from shock and anger to a mix of confusion and disbelief. Soon, the hotel ambulance arrived. The paramedics wanted to load Chad onto the stretcher, but I clung to it like a conjoined twin, crying and shouting that I had to accompany him. I'm his only support. He can't live without me. Get lost. Who needs you? I want a medical examination. I'm going to sue you until you rot in jail. Chad's inner voice rang in my ears. Once in the ambulance, I held his hand tightly, my eyes deep with worry. Just as he opened his mouth to curse me, I immediately cut him off, speaking in an even more tragic tone. Bro Chad, do you want to scold me? Go ahead. As long as you're alive, you can scold me all you want. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let you be exposed to a dangerous environment with mosquitoes. His curses were forcefully stuffed back down his throat, his face turning the color of pig liver. After this wave of insane maneuvers, Chad's carefully crafted, elegant elite persona had completely collapsed into a drowned rat, tormented by a crazy brother. He was suffering in silence, unable to explode, forced to watch as I poured basins of dirty water over him in the name of love. As for me, I successfully crafted a new persona, mentally unstable due to excessive care for his brother. Seeing Chad's expression look like he'd swallowed a fly, I felt a satisfaction I'd never known before. This was just the appetizer. Tonight, no one sleeps. At the hospital, the doctor said Chad only had a few surface scratches and just needed simple bandaging. Chad wasn't going to let it go that easily. No way, I have to be hospitalized. I need an injury report. I want to file for workers' comp. I want to make Zach lose everything. He clutched his waist, moaning about dizziness, nausea, and possible internal organ damage from the impact. The doctor had no choice but to admit him for observation. I immediately volunteered to the arriving Victoria. Victoria, with Bro Chad in this state, I'm worried. Please allow me to take leave and stay here to care for him 24 hours a day. Victoria looked at my sincere to the point of madness face and waved her hand wearily, agreeing. Lying in the hospital bed, Chad sneered internally. Idiot. Perfect. With you here, it's easier to keep an eye on you. Once I find a chance, I'll send out that price list. He thought I didn't know his little scheme. I wanted to stay precisely to ensure he had no energy and no opportunity to pull those stunts. By evening, Victoria brought a fruit basket to visit. This was Chad's perfect chance to counterattack. He immediately put on a weak, innocent expression, eyes reddening, about to start his complaint. Victoria, I sprinted out of the bathroom, holding a brand new plastic urinal bottle high in the air. Bro Chad, you've been holding it for a long time. The doctor said with your back injury, you can't move around. Cool me. Pee right here in front of Victoria. It's okay. We're brothers. I don't mind. I enthusiastically tried to shove the urinal under his pants. The room petrified. Chad's face went from pale to iron gray, then from iron gray to purple. Pee my ass. Victoria is right here. How can I pee? Zach, I'm going to kill you. Victoria's mouth twitched, and she cleared her throat awkwardly. Chad, rest well. I'll come see you tomorrow. She practically fled the scene. Chad's plan to borrow a knife to kill me. Round 1 failed. Once Victoria left, I immediately put away the urinal and swapped it for a bowl of freshly ladled hot porridge. It was straight out of the boiling pot, steam rolling off it. I scooped a spoonful, didn't blow on it at all, and shoved it right to his lips. Bro Chad, quick, eat while it's hot. Cold food is bad for your stomach. Chad looked at the spoonful of porridge that could scald off a layer of skin and shrank back in terror. Are you trying to scald me to death? He clamped his mouth shut, refusing to eat. My tears came on command, plop, dropping right into the porridge. Bro Chad, are you disgusted by me? Do you think I'm clumsy and can't even feed you right? Boo-hoo. If you don't eat, does that mean you don't love me anymore? I cried while making a move to pour the porridge into my own mouth. If you won't eat it, I will. I can't waste your appreciation for me. Chad, numb from my crazy logic, had to endure the heat and open his mouth. All night, I took care of him in this hardcore manner. Just as he thought moron in his heart, I peeled an apple and shoved the whole thing into his mouth. Bro Chad, vitamin C. Don't talk, just feel my love. In the middle of the night, he tried to sneak his phone out from under his pillow to send a message. Like I had eyes in the back of my head, I leaped up from the cot, screaming, radiation. There's radiation. The doctor said electronic radiation is bad for wound healing. Then I snatched his phone and, splash, dropped it in the water cup on the nightstand. The screen lit up once, then went completely black. Chad stared at the bubbling phone in the cup, his body freezing, his eyes filled with pure despair. My phone. My price list. Zach. I looked at him innocently. Bro Chad, don't thank me. It's what I should do. That night, I tortured Chad into a nervous breakdown. Forget contacting the competitor. He didn't even have the courage to close his eyes, because he didn't know what this lunatic would do next. I still underestimated Chad's cunning. The next morning, I pretended to go get water, hiding outside the door, and clearly heard his suppressed excitement in his thoughts. Thank God I had the foresight to hide a burner phone inside the pillow stuffing. Zach, you idiot. Thought destroying one phone fixed everything? Tonight, when he's asleep, I'll send the file. This time, not even God can save him. I walked back into the ward holding the water pitcher, expressionless. So that's it. You want to play? I'll play with you to the end. I decided to beat him at his own game. During the day, I continued my meticulous care, feeding him, wiping his face, telling jokes, torturing him to the brink of collapse. By late night, I confirmed he had fallen into a deep sleep due to mental strain and physical exhaustion. I quietly walked to his bedside and gingerly fished the backup phone out of his pillow stuffing. The phone had no passcode. I opened his contacts and found the one labeled CEO Wallace Horizon Group. I smiled. I didn't delete the contact. Instead, I made a small edit. I deleted CEO Wallace Horizon Group's number and replaced it with Victoria Sterling's mobile number. Then, I changed the contact name to My Dearest Victoria. After doing all this, I put the phone back exactly where it was inside the pillow, returned to my cot, and closed my eyes. At 3 a.m., I heard rustling sounds. Chad sneakily took out the phone. In the darkness, the screen's light illuminated his smug face. Found it, encrypted file. Send. Ha ha ha, Zach, wait to die. When the sun rises tomorrow, it's your doomsday. He hit send, then satisfied, hid the phone and went back to sleep. The next day, the company indeed blew up. But it wasn't the project that exploded. It was Chad himself. At 9 a.m., Victoria arrived downstairs at the hospital radiating murderous intent. She kicked open the ward door, her face covered in a thick layer of frost. Chad was still pretending to drink the porridge I was feeding him. Seeing Victoria, he immediately put on that pitiful expression. Victoria, why are you here? Did something happen at the company? Did Zach cause trouble again? Victoria didn't say a word. She threw her phone violently, smashing it right into Chad's face. Look for yourself. Chad confusedly picked up the phone. When he saw the content on the screen, he went completely catatonic. On the screen was the WeChat chat interface of his burner account. The person he was chatting with was unmistakably Victoria, and the content was that encrypted confidential price list file. The fatal blow was that after he sent the file, he had smugly followed up with, Mr. Wallace, pleasure doing business with you. I immediately sprang from my chair, shielding Chad with my body, looking at Victoria with utter heartbreak. Victoria, there must be a misunderstanding. Bro Chad definitely didn't mean it. He must have slipped. Yes, a slip of the hand. He wanted to send it to me, but accidentally sent it to you. Or he was hacked. Even though he's the only one who uses this burner account, hacker technology is so advanced nowadays. Every sentence of my defense was like a hammer, slamming nails hard into Chad's coffin, driving them deeper. Slipped? Hacked? WTF. I clearly sent it to Wallace at Horizon. How did it go to Victoria? Why is the contact name changed to My Dearest Victoria? Zach, it has to be him. That lunatic. Chad couldn't figure it out. He looked at me, eyes full of terror and disbelief. Victoria looked at the two of us, one explaining maniacally, the other staring blankly without a defense, and sneered. Chad, effective immediately, you're stripped of all duties as project lead. When you return to the office, I'll have HR speak with you. Corporate espionage. You have some nerve. With that, she turned and left, leaving behind a Chad whose credit was bankrupt and whose plan was totally exposed. I looked at his soul-crushed appearance, patted his shoulder, and said earnestly, Bro Chad, don't be scared. I'm here with you. Chad didn't have the face to stay in the hospital. He discharged himself that day and returned to the company the next day, sick. He wore a wrinkled hospital gown, walked with a limp, face pale, trying his hardest to create a fragile image of being wronged and persecuted. He began spreading rumors among colleagues. Zach, he seems mentally unstable. He'll do anything to climb the ladder. I suspect he tampered with my phone to frame me. Some colleagues who were originally sympathetic to him began to look at me with suspicion and caution again. I knew perfectly well a new round of magical warfare was about to begin. The next day, I rented a wheelchair online and had a delivery guy push me into the office. You wear a hospital gown to play the victim? I'll roll in paralyzed in a wheelchair. I explained to the swarming colleagues with a haggard face. Sigh, don't mention it. Taking care of Bro Chad these past few days I stayed up too late. My legs gave out on the stairs, and I fell. The doctor says I might be wheelchair-bound for a while. I beat my chest and stomped my foot figuratively. But for the company, for our unfinished project, Zach Miller, even if I have to crawl, I will crawl to work. Chad, in his hospital gown, watched me in my wheelchair, the corner of his eye twitching violently. Damn it, you can play like that? Why doesn't he just die? In the office, a hospital gown and a wheelchair became two bizarre scenic spots. Colleagues looked at us like we were two patients who had escaped from a mental asylum. Chad refused to appear weak. He walked up to me holding a cup of boiling hot water. Zach, your legs aren't working. Let me get you some water. As he spoke, his hand shook, and most of the boiling water splashed directly onto my thigh. I sat in the wheelchair and didn't dodge. I let the scalding water soak my pants, skin searing with pain. But I didn't scream. Instead, I revealed an expression of ecstatic intoxication, clasping my hands together and looking up at him. Thank you for the baptism, bro Chad. This scalding temperature represents bro Chad's scalding love for me. I feel it. My whole being has ascended. Hiss. A collective gasp echoed around us. Chad was dumbfounded. Is this guy actually crazy? He gets burned and doesn't dodge? Ascended? From that day on, I started mimicking his snake-like behavior in every way, dialing it up to 11. He used to like calling me Bro Zach to appear close and humble. Now, I opened and closed every sentence with Chad babe. Chad babe, could you help me pass this file? Chad babe, your complexion looks so bad today. Did you stay up late for me again? I'm so heartbroken. Chad babe, let's have lunch together. Every time I used a baby voice to call him Chad babe, he got goosebumps all over, his face looking worse than if he'd eaten SHD. The best part was, using my mind-reading ability, I could perfectly predict all his lines. In meetings, just as he was about to open his mouth to make a snide comment about project progress. I need to remind Victoria that Zach's legs are crippled. He might drag down the project. I immediately raised my hand, looking tragic. Victoria, everyone, I know my current physical condition might drag everyone down. Drag down our beloved Chad babe. If necessary, I can withdraw. I can't let my existence affect Chad babe's future. The bellyful of words Chad had prepared were stuffed back down, unable to utter a syllable. Whatever he wanted to say, I used his inner thoughts to say his lines for him, leaving him speechless, forced to sit there awkwardly. After a few rounds, the way the whole company looked at us changed completely. They stopped trying to figure out who was right or wrong and just treated us both like unreasonable psychopaths. But because I was crazier and more shameless than him, everyone subconsciously feared provoking me, only daring to quietly distance themselves from Chad, terrified of being hit by the splash damage from his crazy brother. Chad's tea art crumbled before my madness. Backed into a corner, Chad finally jumped the wall like a desperate dog. He knew he couldn't beat me with conventional office tactics anymore, so he conceived a more venomous idea. That afternoon, as I pretended to struggle to reach a file from my cubicle, his spiteful inner voice suddenly rang in my head. Victoria, that bitch. She dares to strip my title, dares to humiliate me like that. That lunatic Zach is all because she enables him. If I can't have a good life, don't think you can either. I'm going to see what dirty secrets you, Miss High and Mighty, are hiding. My heart sank. The micro-listening device I bought online arrives tomorrow. During lunch break, when everyone is out eating, I'll sneak in her office and stick it under her desk. As long as I catch a little dirt on her private life or work, I can use it to blackmail her into firing both me and Zach. No, firing Zach and keeping me. Installing a bug? This had gone beyond office politics. This was a serious crime. I sat in my wheelchair, watching Chad chatting and laughing with colleagues not far away, a cold light flashing in my eyes. Heaven has a path you refuse to take. Hell has no door, but you insist on barging in. The next day, during lunch break, people left the office one by one. Chad looked left and right sneakily. After confirming no one was around, he took something and quickly slipped into the director's office at the end of the hall. He didn't know that before he made his move, I had already rolled my wheelchair into the storage closet right next to the director's office. The closet door had a small ventilation slat. I set my phone to record video, aiming the lens toward Victoria's office area. No, just recording video wasn't fun enough. I opened a WeChat group named Company Singles Mutual Aid Group. Almost everyone in the company, hundreds of people, were in this anonymous group. I started a video live stream. Title: Midday Exploration, The Untold Secrets of the Director's Office. Soon, a large wave of lurking colleagues flooded into the stream. Who is streaming? Holy crap. Is that Victoria's office? Streamer, you got balls. Under the gaze of dozens of pairs of eyes, Chad's figure appeared on the screen. Like a thief, he tiptoed to Victoria's desk, squatted down, pulled a matchbox-sized black device from his pocket, and expertly adhered it to a hidden corner under the desk. The livestream group exploded instantly. Is that Chad? What is he doing? What is that black thing? WTF. It's a bug, just like in the movies. Chad finished installing the bug, dusted off his hands, and wore a smile of a successful plot. Just as he stood up to leave, the office doors suddenly opened. It was Victoria. She had forgotten a file and doubled back. Chad and Victoria locked eyes. The atmosphere was extremely awkward. Chad, what are you doing here? Victoria froneth. Chad panicked for a second, but quickly regained composure, forcing a smile. Victoria, I saw some dust on your desk. Just wanted to wipe it for you. Just then, the door to the closet inside the office slowly opened. Me, sitting in my wheelchair, slowly rolled out from the large wardrobe area. I flashed a bewildered and innocent smile at the stunned Chad and Victoria, and winked at him. Chad, babe, so you were here too? Do you like playing hide-and-seek too? Chad's face instantly lost all color. He didn't know I'd live-streamed everything. That afternoon, Victoria, face livid, called 2 security guards. In front of the entire office, the guards retrieved the black listening device from under her desk. The whole place was in an uproar. Chad panicked completely. He knew he was done for. In his desperation, he pointed at me and screamed hoarsely. It was him. It was Zach Miller. I saw him sneaking out of Victoria's office at lunch. Everyone's eyes focused on me. I sat in my wheelchair, wearing an expression of injury and disappointment, and slowly pulled out my phone, opening the playback of the anonymous group livestream. Chad, babe, although I love you very much, I really can't take the fall for you on this one. Look, I have video. In front of the entire company, I played the recording. The high-definition footage clearly documented the entire process. Chad sneaking into the office, installing the bug, and getting caught by Victoria. The evidence was irrefutable. Chad's face was whiter than printer paper. He slumped to the floor, lips trembling, unable to say a single word. The way colleagues looked at him shifted from shock to disdain, and finally to pure disgust. Awaiting him was termination and possibly a police investigation. He was completely finished. However, just as security was about to take him away, he suddenly broke free like a madman and sprinted toward the safety exit leading to the roof. He was going all in, staging a final act of moral kidnapping. Soon, a message from Chad popped up in the main company WeChat group. It was a tear-stained suicide note. The content was essentially claiming he was framed, coerced, and driven to a dead end by the deranged lunatic Zach Miller, leaving him no choice but to prove his innocence with death. He attached a photo of himself standing on the roof ledge, with a drop of dozens of meters in the background. The company instantly went into chaos. Afraid of a real fatality, Victoria hurriedly called the police and the fire department. A massive crowd surged downstairs, looking up at the figure on the roof. Chad stood on the ledge, the wind blowing his thin hospital gown. He cried his heart out, listing my various crimes. Firefighters deployed an air cushion downstairs. Police maintained order. Victoria found me, her face grave. Zach, no matter what, talk him down first. Go up there, apologize to him, stabilize him. Apologize? I knew exactly what he was trying to do. His smug and malicious inner voice was echoing in my ears. I don't believe he's not scared. As long as he comes up and apologizes, admits he forced me, I win. The charge of driving a colleague to suicide is enough to make him never lift his head again. I tied a safety rope around my waist anyway. Even if I slip, I won't die. Come on, Zach, come kneel and beg me. So he left the back door. I smiled. Want to socially execute me? Let's see who strips whose dignity first. I grabbed a megaphone from the security office and stormed up to the roof like a hurricane. Seeing me, Chad's eyes lit up, and he wailed even more tragically. Zach Miller, you're finally here. Are you here to force me to jump? I ignored him. Instead, raising the megaphone toward the massive black crowd downstairs, I shouted with all my might, "Everyone look! My good brother Chad, babe, in order to prove his innocence to the world, specifically wore his favorite pair of lucky red boxers today to ward off evil." I heard this detail from his thoughts too. Damn it, forgot it's my zodiac year, wore red underwear out. So embarrassing. The crowd downstairs paused for a second, then erupted into laughter. Chad's cry got stuck in his throat, his face turning the color of pig liver. Before he could react, I dashed over. Taking advantage of his distraction, I reached out and fiddled with his waist. I actually tightened the buckle of the safety rope he had hidden under his clothes. but my mouth let out an earth-shattering scream. Chad, babe, your safety buckle came loose. You're going to fall. Chad didn't know I was acting. He reflexively looked down and only saw me yanking at his waist. He thought the rope really snapped. In that instant, the terror of death overwhelmed him. He let out a bizarre screech. His legs turned to jelly of excitement. This is reverence for life. This is a longing for the future. Look at that wet stain. That is the glory of his humanity shining through. Downstairs, countless phone cameras were pointed at the scene. Flashes went off one after another. Chad, the calculating male green tea, completed the ultimate career suicide in front of everyone in the most humiliating, wretched way possible. A few hours later, the hashtag red underwear Superman pee pants trended #1 in the city. He was famous. The roof farce ended with Chad being carried down by police and firefighters. He was mentally dazed, eyes unfocused, mumbling my red underwear. Pete. The police took statements on site. Victoria submitted the bug as physical evidence along with my livestream recording. The nature of the case was clear. An officer walked up to Chad, expression serious. Mr. Henderson, you are suspected of illegal use of eavesdropping equipment and attempted infringement of trade secrets. Please come with us to the station for investigation. The moment the handcuffs clicked, Chad seemed to wake from his breakdown. He didn't struggle. He just looked up, staring at me with a gaze dipped in poison. Zach Miller, you wait. When I get out, I will kill you. I heard it. I walked toward him with a smile. Under the surprised gazes of the police and Victoria, I gave him a big, brotherly hug. I leaned into his ear and whispered the secret I had buried for so long. Chad, babe, forgot to tell you something. From the day you spilled coffee on Victoria, I could hear your inner voice. Every bad idea you thought of, every lie you told, I knew. Surprise? Unexpected. In that instant, I clearly felt his entire body stiffen like a rock. He violently pushed me away, his pupils contracting sharply from extreme terror, as if he had seen the world's most horrifying ghost. He pointed at me, letting out a scream that didn't sound human. Monster. He's a monster. He can hear what I'm thinking. Help. He struggled frantically, acting insane. The two officers holding him exchanged a glance. One shook his head. Looks like his mental state is unstable. Suggest a psychiatric evaluation first. I watched him being shoved into the police car. Through the window, I waved at him, smiling brightly. Chad, babe, I'll visit you often. Remember to miss me. The siren wailed as the car drove away. On the roof, only Victoria and I remained. The wind blew her long hair. She looked at me, her eyes no longer holding the previous disgust or disdain, but filled with curiosity and complexity. You? Exactly when did you know he was that kind of person? I put away all my crazy expressions, returning to my usual calm, even wearing a composure I didn't have before. Meeting her gaze, I said faintly, from a moment he tried to scheme against you, tried to hurt you. One sentence, pushing all the credit onto her. It explained my motivation and subtly flirted with her at the same time. I saw the tips of Victoria's ears quietly turn red. Chad's story became the industry's joke of the year and a cautionary tale. The title Roof Pee Pants Guy ensured his social death was thorough. Forget finding a job. He didn't even dare leave his house. He was eventually prosecuted for multiple crimes, awaiting the severe punishment of the law. In the company, all misunderstandings were resolved. Colleagues who had mocked me came over to apologize. Some even pooled money to pay me back for the KTV bill Chad stiffed me on. My wheelchair completed its mission, and I stood up again. Everything seemed back on track, yet something was completely different. To celebrate the successful contract signing and to clear my name, Victoria treated me to a private dinner. High-end steakhouse, melodious violin music. Victoria cut her steak and finally asked the question she had been dying to ask. Zach, be honest. Those crazy behaviors before, were they all an act? I swirled the red wine in my glass and smiled. Life is a stage. It all depends on acting. To deal with a lunatic, you can only use methods crazier than him. Under the lights, my profile looked calm and somewhat unfamiliar. Victoria looked at me, a bit entranced. Just then, a clear and cute voice suddenly rang in my mind. It was Victoria's inner voice. I froze. Did this cheat code automatically bind to the next person after Chad went to jail? This guy. He's actually pretty handsome when he's normal. He has brains, guts, and his acting is so good. His workability is strong too. This project was all thanks to him. How about I find a chance to sleep with him? Give him a promotion and raise, make him my man? Buffed. The mouthful of water I just took sprayed solidly across the table. Sleep with me? Victoria, Your inner thoughts are a bit too wild. Victoria was startled by me, a rare blush appearing on her face. What are you doing? My DNA activated. That mad dog attribute carved into my bones was reactivated the instant I heard her thoughts. Thud. I dropped to my knees again. Under the shocked gazes of the entire steakhouse, I hugged the leg of the table. Victoria, you can't do this. I cried with a face full of tragedy. Zach Miller, may be poor, but I have a backbone. I sell my skills, not my body. Victoria's face instantly turned the color of a boiled lobster. Seeing everyone's eyes swiveling toward us, she was both ashamed and furious, wishing she could find a crack in the floor to crawl into. Zach Miller, get up, you lunatic, she screamed internally, but the words that came out were weak with embarrassment. You get up quickly. I looked up and winked at her, revealing that familiar, frantic yet innocent smile. Looks like my career as a mad dog has to continue, but this time it seems kind of sweet. Story complete.